Question from Josh. With a lack of funds being the biggest obstacle, what can artists do to get traction in an industry inundated with pay to play structures?
Hmm. So basically, from if you don't have a budget, how can you actually go and like get traction? I think it kind of unfortunately kind of comes back to social media for like a big part of it, just because that's kind of like the great equalizer nowadays. It's like anyone with a phone can go and gain an audience. But if you're not as much into that kind of thing, like networking and touring and collaborating with artists is also huge.
Yeah, I want to jump in on the social media thing. I don't know if people, because we're just so used to social media, if people don't quite understand, but you have free direct marketing to your biggest fans. And I think people lose sight sometimes on just kind of like how incredible that actually can be if you take advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, like look at Crystal's YouTube channel. You have 150,000 subscribers or something, right? You have grown
Yeah.
that just by uploading videos on the internet.
After, it was an overnight success after 1,200 videos and 4 years of work.
Yeah. So it's like but it's just, I don't want to say just because it's hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of work probably, but like you didn't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on advertisements to grow that audience.
And you have to bet on yourself. I think that's really what it is. And you said it nicely. Yes, it's social media, right? Whether you're doing the sell before you stream method or whatever, it's that you have an audience to connect with a lot of people anytime for free. And what's stopping you usually is that you're not posting. Is that you don't want to pick up the phone and have it point at your face and you have to think of something to say and try to be interesting. It's really tough. But if you can figure that out and you can push past your discomfort, you can win for yourself.
Yeah. A lot
And
of people
and
claim social media is like dead or whatever, and that it's impossible to break through organically. It's all pay to play, but like I've done like hundreds of artists who have gone from 0 to over 100,000 followers without spending a penny, right? Like there's a lot of people that do it with a budget, but I've met a ton of people that do it without a budget.
I'll
Even
shout
labels.
out our artist Daedric. They kill it on social. And from the beginning, they have posted, it feels like every once a day. I mean, nonstop, and the grind never stops. And we have, as a label, have seen the results of that, and they are good.
and if you don't have a budget, it's that social organic content, and even places like Spotify where there is an algorithm, kind of like the social media algorithm. If you're getting enough traction there for it to spin up in the algorithm, but back to the word patience, like doing those things and giving it time to play out over time. And Crystal, you said it took you 1,200 videos in 4 years. Like independent artists without a budget put out music consistently, be on socials, and do it for 4 years, and you're definitely going to be a lot further along than just right now.
But then you have a voice, and I'll say that because I mentioned Two Lost, for example, and we got Two Lost on the phone. Let me be clear about this. They made a change to their platform because I called them out, and then I got the CEO on a phone call, and I explained to him, and he listened about what they needed to do and why, and this and that, and they actually changed it. And so every time that we've been able to do this with even getting music distributors to update their terms of service is because we present the issue, we have a conversation about it, we make the other company aware. And so it's just kind of like, to the extent the voice is created because of your consistency, because you show up and now you have people who care and you have subscribers, you can make an impact. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? So you have to give yourself a mission. It's not just I want to get a bunch of people to listen to my song. That's great. But I think if you have a real mission that drives that, you do it day after day, even when you don't see the results yet. It helps.
From Pale Vision, James, I'm going to call you out because I know you have thoughts on this. Regarding a strategy releasing music and timing, does it make sense for artists to release full albums versus dropping new content once every several weeks / couple of months? Any pros or cons to either approach?
Yeah, and we touched base a little bit on this earlier, but we are huge fans of the consistent single release strategy. And, even if it's like 90% of the album as singles and then just packaging that last song or two as part of the album, from our own data, we've seen it's, I think 2x at minimum up to like, 100x at the extreme, that for the life of that song, at least in the Spotify algorithmic ecosystem, putting it out as a single versus an album track has long-term implications based on how much data you're initially pushing up front and kind of seeding it into that system. So I know a lot of artists want to create this fan album experience. You want them to experience it all at once. But for anybody new, after your current fan base has it right now, for the next year, anybody that's getting it all new to them it's the same. So you may as well use what's going to maximize your reach with it and put it out as singles.
And if you're a Spotify user, you can do the research. Go to any album and look at the songs that were released as singles and the ones that were not. And most of the time, you will see a much lower count on those ones that were not released as singles.
Yep.
Hello, from Zax. Hello, been following Fix since beginning, wondering how each of you are addressing the rise of AI so far as protecting your IP as well in general, defending your content online. Following Rick Beato online, it's such a scary landscape when you're new and learning the ropes is enough. Thanks for this opportunity. So we kind of touched about AI a little bit earlier, but if any of you have any other thoughts about protecting your IP when it comes to AI, feel free.
Well, the question was directed at Fixed. What's Fixed doing? Hear it.
So, kind of also reading between the lines slightly in the question, we do put our music into various content ID systems for protection. We as a policy, and the Rick Beato comment, I know he recently was talking about all the major labels that were flagging him and striking him. We embraced people using our music on YouTube as a monetization strategy. So we let people do it and we put a content ID claim on it. We don't strike or block people. There are times where a license is appropriate, but yeah, there's a lot of complexities to those systems, and there's a lot of videos, recent things I've seen about kind of false positives and people that are manipulating those systems. But we, as a strategy, we embrace using technology to protect our content to the extent possible. And I mentioned, we're putting a part of our catalog into a deal with 11 Labs to train some AI models on our music. We want a voice in those conversations and to be a part of it. But like I said before, it's a wild west. There's so much happening so quickly. I think the legal infrastructure around it is going to lag behind what the tech companies are doing, and then eventually that'll catch up, and then there'll be some accountability and precedence for where it goes from there. But we embrace being on the cutting edge and being in whatever platforms we can be for the next generation of creators and content out there. And I don't know if I actually answered the question, but there's a few sides to the puzzle anyway.
I think so. I think the opting into the content ID systems is a part of it. Like, I used to, by principle, not use content ID for my music because, in my opinion, I want people to be able to use my music in their content and them to be able to monetize their videos. Because as a YouTuber, that sucks. That if you use 30 seconds of a song, the artist is taking all the money. Like, it's kind of a joke, honestly, in my opinion. And so I never did it. And then what happened is someone started trying to rip my songs, upload them, and they were content IDing my stuff. So now, to protect my stuff, I do content ID claim it. And I wish I didn't have to, because I would rather people feel like they can use my music in their videos and don't pay me a penny, just go use it in your content. I'd rather you promote my music for free, right? Just credit me in the description or something. But the way the world is, you kind of can't, because the bad apples are going to go out there and ruin it for everyone.
On AI protection, I would say 3 things. 1, don't upload your music to AI platforms. Don't do it, because their terms of service say you give them an irrevocable perpetual license, so forever and ever you can't take it back. To use your stuff on the training, it could come out. They disclose this in the terms. Your music could come out in someone else's output. So don't put your stuff into AI. 2, trademark your name. So if someone comes and if an infringer is using your name and using AI music to infringe and impersonate you, which is happening more so to independent artists now, which is the weird thing. It used to kind of make sense for the big artists, but now they're going after independent artists specifically. And 3, actually register your music for copyright, because if you find that one of these AI companies have taken your stuff without your authorization, or someone just does it in general, in order to sue in a court of law, you need that piece of paper. So already have it done.
If you haven't registered and you find someone stole your song, can you go then register and then sue them?
You can. The timing does matter for, remember I said the statutory damages, so it matters for how much you can claim in your damages. But if you call me up today and you say, I don't have the registration yet, but I have proof, I say, great, we're going to go get your registration right away. We'll sue. But the best bet is if you did it in advance.
Sweet.
From Anonymous, video content has changed over the years, long form, short form. Question for all: is there a best kind of video for content creation these days? Funny, serious, lyric, etc. Does short form drive YouTube views these days, or does traditional long form still work? TikTok got to be 30 seconds or less.
The real answer, it depends. It's just depends what kind of creator you want to be. I know people who crush on YouTube Shorts, crush on YouTube Longs, crush on TikTok, crush on Reels, and people who do bad on all of those. And it just depends. on your what kind of artist you are and where you want to be. Like Threads right now is kind of like the best organic reach platform right now. I know a guy who's getting 1 million impressions a month on Threads.
That's kind of a hot take. Threads,
Wow.
you say?
I'd say Threads is one of the best. And like the cool thing is you don't need to upload video. It's a text based. It's just like Twitter, right? Or X. And you know, it just depends on what kind of creator you are, where you work, where your community is hanging out. No, it's not always TikTok all the time. And a lot of artists think it has to be because TikTok's what everyone talks about. But like some people just suck on TikTok. They don't like fit the culture or whatever of the platform.
Yeah, I'm okay with picking one platform and trying to go big. I used to say volume counts. I still believe that. I think that even if you're getting small numbers on certain platforms, you still should be posting everywhere. Okay. But if you have capacity issues and you want to focus on the one that's doing best, I'd rather you do volume on that platform and grow. But the question was as far as like what? You know, is it funny? Is it serious or whatever? But I think of it in two vacuums. One is going to be value versus authenticity. Because I tried this. I go, you know, for a time, because I have different brands. I have my lawyer stuff, top music attorney, Miss Crystal, which is my music. And I go, I wanted to be more authentic is the word that I use. And I'm like, I want to show up. I want to be real. And so I was like, I tried stuff. You know what I'm saying? I just woke up, no makeup. You know, I'm hanging out with my cat. And then I went and looked at all that type of content. I'm like, I don't like that. And I go, that's super authentic. I just woke up. That was a real moment. But what I realized I meant was value. I wanted to put out stuff that I thought people, it would help. It would make them feel something. It would help inform. So now the vacuum is, I try to come up with stuff that is geared towards the person who's going to receive it. How's it going to make them feel? How's it going to help them? And that helps honestly just make content creation easier so you don't get hung up on how you look and how you feel. And it's not about you, it's about them.
From Chris, and I think this is directed at you, Andrew, but anyone feel free to jump in, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase a little bit here. There's obviously a lot of good music out there, good and bad. How does your team handle moving forward with an artist? Many promo companies will take your money no matter what. How subjective are you with the song? I think that kind of gets the gist of the question across.
Yeah. So like they're saying they're currently talking with my team for potentially doing a campaign. And so like, you know, do we like essentially do we like reject stuff? Do we and all that? And like the answer is we do reject stuff. And this has been kind of like a constant thing we're fighting with is we'll have someone who reject and then it turns into like an argument where they're like offended and they're trying to convince us and they're like, it's just let me spend my money. Just help me spend it, but let me spend my money. And then we'll have other people that like, we'll kind of have an experience like that. And then we'll just kind of like the next one that we would have rejected, we'll just kind of approve. And then at the end, when it doesn't work out, we'll be like, you know, we'll kind of mention like, so, you know, it depends. Maybe it was the song or whatever. And then they're kind of mad that we didn't reject it up front. And so it's this kind of constant battle that we're wrestling with. Sometimes when we tell people we're rejecting it, they're like, good, thank you, which I would hope would be the reaction. So now what we do is if we don't think the song will work, which isn't necessarily the quality, by the way, it could just be like, this is a genre that's really weird for us or like whatever. We don't think we can get content that'll make sense for it. We will say something along the lines of like, we don't think this will work and we would recommend not doing this campaign. But if you want to do it anyways, we will do it. So that way it's like, we're kind of just letting them know like, hey, we know we're not feeling too good about this. But like at the end of the day, it's your money. Like we'll spend your money. That way it's up to them. And I feel like that's kind of been the best compromise is we get to, you know, give them the warning and then we'll do it if they want. But it's a hard call. And I posted on Threads about it at one point, and that was kind of the public perception as well, is like people are kind of disagreeing. They're like, no, you're a service company. You should do the service. If someone hires you to cut your lawn, you should cut their lawn. But not be like, I don't want to cut your lawn because your lawn's ugly. Like you should just cut their lawn. And then other people are like, no, you should 100% reject what you can't do it. So it's a hard call, but that's how I've been handling it.
I think
You have a reputation to protect though as well. Like if you have campaigns that don't succeed and now people are like, oh yeah, I did a campaign with him and it didn't go well. That's something you want to protect.
That's also where the rejection, like letting them know ahead of time is like, we're kind of covering ourselves in a way. It's like, well, we told you we didn't think it would work. So like, can you really be that? And at the end of the day, it's marketing. I try to as much as possible tell people like nothing's guaranteed. You know, it's like you're hiring us to do the campaign. You're not hiring us for a guaranteed result. I wish I could guarantee a result, but like in reality, like if you can guarantee a result like that, you're probably doing something sketchy behind the scenes. You know, it's like no matter what, we run the campaign as good or bad. If anything, bad campaigns cost us more because we have to make more visuals and we have to do more testing and iteration, more communication with the client. So bad campaigns cost us more than good campaigns. And so that's why we charge whether the campaign's good or bad. If we don't think it'll work, we let them know. And hopefully people don't get too upset if they get a bad one. And they understand that not everything wins, unfortunately.
Let me squeeze one more question in here from the chat before we wrap this up. How do you copyright a song which you use drum one shots, FX, or vocals from another company like Splice, Ghost Hack, or Standalone?
Really good question. So there is a place in a copyright application. And again, I have a training on Top Music Attorney on YouTube on how to file step by step. But there's a place in the copyright application where you disclaim if ever you have a sample that's been licensed. Now, let me be clear, is that if you're dealing with like a Splice type of sample, or you've purchased a sample pack, generally you're not going to put that there, right? Because isn't like pretty much everything we're using. I use Reason, for example, and all the sounds that came with Reason, right? That's all licensed material. I'm not going to put all of that in the registration. It's something more of like, I went and sampled Beyonce's, song. So understand there is a distinction, but I do talk about where you would put that information if you think you qualify in that tutorial.